All right, today we're going to dig into something really fascinating, the story of how Japan completely took over the world of consumer electronics. And you know what? It's a story most of us probably have wrong. We're going to be looking at this through the lens of a fantastic book, We Were Burning, which totally flips the script on the whole thing.
I mean, this was the question for decades, right? How did Japan, a country rebuilding from scratch, suddenly start filling our homes with all these gadgets, these Walkmans, these cameras, these TVs that we just had to have? And for a long, long time, the answer everyone gave was super simple. It all came down to one thing, this idea of Japan Inc.
The picture that was painted was this, like monolithic machine. You had these brilliant government planners in Tokyo mapping out the entire economic future, and then this huge army of super loyal, almost drone-like corporate workers just executing that plan perfectly. You know, total top-down control.
But, and this is the big twist, what if that whole story, the one that business schools taught for decades, is just wrong? What if it's a myth? Well, that's exactly what the research shows, and we're going to break it all down for you. Okay, so first things first, let's really get our heads around this Japan Inc. idea, the very myth we're about to tear apart. So the theory of Japan Inc. basically goes like this. Japan's economic boom was no accident. It was a carefully crafted master plan, orchestrated by these all-powerful government bodies, the most famous one being MIDI, who were supposedly picking the winning industries and then just steering them towards world domination. And this myth really stood on a few key pillars. It wasn't just the government planning. It was this whole stereotype of Japanese culture, right? You had corporations where everyone had to agree on everything. You had these workers who were totally focused on the group, not themselves. And maybe the biggest one, the idea that Japan was great at copying and improving things, but not really at innovating. And look, for years, pretty much everyone bought this. It just seemed to make sense. It explained everything so neatly. But what if the real secret sauce, the actual engine behind it all, was something else entirely? Something hidden right in front of everyone's faces. Okay, so it's time to meet the real heroes of the story, the ones journalist Bob Johnstone calls the invisible entrepreneurs. And this is the absolute key. The real engine wasn't some government bureaucrat. Nope. It was passionate, sometimes rebellious, risk-taking people. You know, engineers, managers, scientists who were working inside the big companies. And get this, they were often fighting against their own company's bureaucracy to get things done. I mean, look at the difference here. It's night and day. The myth says government planners. The reality says gutsy individuals. The myth says group consensus. The reality says it was all about internal ambition and cleverness. And this is so important, the myth says they were just imitators? No way. The truth is, these guys were geniuses at taking a piece of tech and figuring out a cool new way for regular people to use it. And we're not talking about little startups in a garage here. We're talking about the big guys. Canon, Casio, Seiko, Sharp, Yamaha, Sony. Their greatest successes happened because they let these internal visionaries, these entrepreneurs, run with their crazy ideas. People who are absolutely obsessed with making the next big thing. So you're probably asking, okay, how did they actually pull it off? Well, there was this incredible pipeline that took technology from a lab in the US and put it right into your living room. Let's walk through it. It was kind of like a four-step dance. First, you have the invention, usually in an American lab like Bell Labs or RCA. Then, step two, some really sharp Japanese entrepreneur spots that tech, often seeing potential that the American inventors themselves missed. Step three, and this is where the magic really happens. Japanese companies would just pour money and talent into making it smaller, better, and cheaper to mass produce. And finally, step four, total world domination, as that tech becomes the core of some amazing new product everybody wants. Just look at the classic examples. Transistors and integrated circuits, invented in the US, but they became the heart of your digital calculator and watch. Liquid crystal displays, LCDs, an American thing that Japanese companies turned into the flat panel screens we use every day. Semiconductor lasers, well, without them, you wouldn't have had the CD player or the laser printer. There's actually a name for this. It's called absorptive innovation. And let's be super clear, this isn't just copying someone else's homework. It's about having the vision to see what a technology could be, and then having the engineering muscle to actually make it happen for millions of people. That was the real secret weapon. But that begs a pretty big question, doesn't it? If American labs invented all this stuff, why did America fumble the ball so badly? Why did they lose the entire market? Well, let's flip the coin over and take a look. And here's the thing, the corporate focus in the US versus Japan was just completely different. While those Japanese entrepreneurs were obsessed with making cool stuff for you and me, for the global consumer, American companies had a different priority. Their biggest customer was often the military, so they were chasing these huge, high-profit defense contracts, not bothering with the messy, lower-margin world of consumer electronics. So when you boil it all down, the US didn't lose because of some grand Japan Inc. conspiracy. The real reason, according to all the research, was a lot simpler and maybe a little more painful. It was just plain old corporate mismanagement and a shocking lack of vision from American companies. And you can see why the Japan Inc. story was so popular, right? It's so much easier to blame some mysterious, unbeatable foreign machine than it is to look in the mirror and admit, hey, we just got outsmarted and outworked. It was the perfect excuse. All right, so let's tie this all together. Let's really nail down what the real innovation engine looked like. And remember, this isn't just some wild theory. This whole story is built on over 100 interviews with the actual people who did the work, the engineers, the scientists, the managers who were in the trenches making it all happen. This is their firsthand account. So why should you care about this today? Because the big lesson here is huge and it's totally timeless. We're obsessed with the idea that all innovation comes from, startups in Silicon Valley. But this story, it proves that some of the most powerful innovation can come from empowering those passionate, risk-taking people inside our biggest companies. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. If these invisible entrepreneurs were the ones who drove the entire electronic age, who are the ones we're missing today? Where are they hiding inside our big companies right now, just waiting for a chance to build the future?